welcome on into Salt City FC. We are back in action. The band is back together. I am Jay Catch. Sitting across from me is Sean Walker. Sean, how are you, buddy?
Jake, I just want to say thank you so much for inviting me into your lovely home and allowing me this great pleasure of looking into your lush, supple, pulsating, throbbing, gorgeous baby blue eyes.
All right, Dan, watch yourself. If you're familiar with podcasts of a college football variety, you know exactly what I just referred to.
Sexy.
Oh, dear. Okay, anyways.
I just feel like since we're actually here, like, in the same room together, we need to make this a little bit more of an intimate experience. We need to bring the listener into our abode, if you will.
Okay, so
that's the try.
The podcast has been somewhat on hiatus since last August. We've recorded an episode here and there, but we're going to get back into the swing of things here, hopefully weekly, and if not more, if we can manage it. But we're going to record this, of all places.
We will play as often as Mike Petke says something really interesting.
Well, that's every week, so there you go.
There you go.
All right, so...
I guess I shouldn't be making those promises then.
No, you should not. No, so, yeah, we're going to be recording podcasts. I'm talking about RSL. We have the Utah Royals to talk about now. It should be a lot of fun, and it's going to be a blast. We're going to be doing this. The nice part is we have the equipment now where we can do this mobily. We can take the show on the road, as they say, and it should be a lot of fun. But, Sean, let's start things off, as we always do, talking about Real Salt Lake. They are 5 matches into their 2018 season, and as of recording, they have 2 wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw in the season for a total of 7 points, and they're coming off a big 2-1 victory over Vancouver.
Yeah, a team that is looking about like, a lot of times we talk about teams that are better than their records, teams that are worse than their records. I think this RSL team right now just kind of is their record.
Yeah.
I feel like 2-2-1, that kind of aptly describes their season right now, where they've looked pretty good at times. They haven't looked so good at times. That consistency right now, as we head through about the first month or so-ish of the season, I think that consistency is what's most lacking. But the talent is there. The coaching is there. I think the players are there. It's just a matter of now kind of leveling that up.
Yeah, absolutely. And this little stretch the RSL has been on is one of the tougher stretches of the season in all reality, because Vancouver was a co-leader in the Western Conference entering the match last Saturday. RSL knocks them off.
Not
anymore. Yeah, they're now in second place, if I'm not mistaken.
Whose Whitecaps are better, Trey?
RSL's.
Whose Whitecaps are better?
That was actually a really good tweet. That was a good tweet. I like that one a lot.
Shout out to RSL's social media department.
They do a good job with that.
Trey? We're gonna give Wiki Trey Fitzgerald.
I'm assuming Tyler Gibbons is probably involved at some level.
I'm gonna give the credit to Trey because Tyler gets enough credit for his video work. So doing great work, Tyler. But I'm gonna credit Trey on this one.
You mean 3 Fits underscore RSL?
Yeah, that one. Triple Fits.
Triple Fits. There you go. No, so it is a lot of fun. And RSL now they head on a short week. There's 3 days between matches essentially here, where they're headed to the Big Apple. As of recording, they should be on the ground in New York, as far as I am aware, getting ready for Wednesday night, playing on that postage stamp of a pitch in Yankee Stadium against the Eastern Conference leading New York City FC.
And Jake Hatch just revealed that he is, in fact, a loyal Boston Red Sox fan with that last comment.
The postage stamp? What are you talking about?
You don't like Yankee Stadium?
I do like Yankee Stadium.
There's so much history, Jake.
No, but I'm talking about...
So much history at this site.
They're trying to play soccer in a baseball...
You've got World Series history. You've got the Bronx Bombers.
You've got Monument Park. I get it.
You've got the house that Derek Jeter built.
Okay, you realize in baseball I root for the Seattle Mariners, who are now the team that has the longest streak of not making...
Then you should be a big fan of Alex Rodriguez and the Yankees.
Oh, go kill me now. Anyways, no, I actually do like the Yankees quite a bit, but trying to play...
Sorry, is this a baseball podcast?
No, it's not.
Oh, sorry.
Back to the football, as they like to say.
Sorry. We can cut that out.
We'll fix it. No, but the thing is, playing soccer in a baseball stadium, especially when the baseball season has started for the Bronx Bombers, as you so aptly called them, and it's a great nickname. I love that nickname. It's an all-timer, but trying to play soccer in that stadium, that pitch, yeah, I know it's quote-unquote regulation size. Yeah, I don't buy it for a second.
It looks small. It definitely looks small. I mean, I won't pretend that it doesn't. The sightlines are obviously very different. The media seating up there is very, very different. They use the Yankees press box, and so the views aren't always great. The camera's not always great. Yes, there's a lot of history. I've got to defend NYCFC a little bit, I think, as the more neutral side of this podcast. But
yes.
So there is a lot of history to Yankee Stadium, certainly, but it's a very different, even if not always more difficult, if not always easier or harder or whatever it is certainly a very different place to play in Major League Soccer.
Well, and I think the one thing you have to give NYCFC credit for is the fact that they have adapted to playing on that field, and they do it to great effect. They're undefeated. They're unbeaten. I'm saying undefeated. Unbeaten on the season. 4 wins, 1 draw. The lone draw coming against their northeastern rival, the New England Revolution. They're coming off a 2-1 win over San Jose on the road last week. RSL is going to be in for a dogfight here, Sean.
Yeah, and based on how they looked the last time they went on the road, a week ago when they went to Toronto FC, this road form is what still needs a lot of work. RSL doesn't necessarily play like the same team at home as they do on the road. Even that home opener against LAFC aside, they've looked like a different team for the most part. And so this could be a nice chance to, again, in a very weird place, a very strange environment, a very different environment, to try to look a little bit more at home, if you will, on the road in the Bronx.
Absolutely, and the one thing about the close quarters of the way that field is configured is, it allows you to keep your shape a little bit better. And the one thing RSL has going for them coming into this match, Sean, is, you know what their record all time against New York City FC is?
It's pretty good.
3-0.
It's pretty good.
They have never lost or drawn against the Blues, as they call themselves.
That's good, right?
That's pretty good.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah.
You're the expert on this podcast, not me.
Oh, right, sure. Anyways, so it should be an interesting match. Of course, New York City, they're not leading the East by happenstance. They average a tidy 2 goals per game. They've scored 2 goals in literally every match they've played so far this year. So RSL is going to need to draw on some of that offensive firepower they found against Vancouver, and hopefully it translates to going on the road and scoring goals as well.
Yeah, find a way for a quick smash and grab. That could do a lot to make up for some drop points here early in this season, for sure. But not an easy task.
Okay, and with this being a short week and injuries, we had to talk about the injuries. David Horst and Adam Henley had to come on in relief in the first half of the Vancouver match, and they had to replace DeMar Phillips and Marcelo Silva. I highly doubt either one of those players, based on what we saw Saturday night, is going to be able to play against New York City FC. So a guy like Adam Henley could feature and get his first start in an RSL kit. David Horst could be in line for another start this season. Or could we see the return of Danilo Acosta to the starting lineup for RSL?
Yeah, those who were following both matches at the same time probably saw something a little bit funny between the RSL match and their second division club, Real Monarchs, where Danny Acosta was subbed off pretty early.
11 minutes.
About 11 or 12 minutes into the Monarchs match at Phoenix. It was right around the same time that Mike Pecky had to make a defensive substitution with the first team.
Uh-huh.
So were 2 people on their phones at both respective stadiums? I'm not saying they were, but I'm also not necessarily saying they weren't.
But word coming out from sources inside the club say that Danny Acosta will be available for selection for Wednesday night's match. So make of that what you will.
Yeah, certainly will. Even if he's not, I think RSL's in a very good spot in that center back post, because a lot of attention was given, and very rightfully so. We'll talk more about him in a minute, but a lot of attention was given to Adam Henley making his club debut with Real Salt Lake in favor of DeMar Phillips. But I thought the other first half defensive sub that Mike Pecky made in bringing on David Horst was really very key in that win over Vancouver. I mean, you've got Horst, who's a wily MLS veteran. You know, he's very smart tactically, very smooth tactically, and he's just a big body, and he was really able to just physically body up with a guy like Kai Kamara, held him to 3 shots on goal, held him off of the score sheet, didn't really do much until the final minute of the match when he assisted on Vancouver's only goal. But really, for the most part, I thought David Horst played a very nice, tidy match against very difficult attacking opposition.
Yeah, and with a guy like David Villa coming at you this week, potentially again for New York City FC, yeah, you're going to need somebody like Horst who has the smarts. And, of course, Justin Glad has got generational talent at center back, who's going to be his backfield mate in that center back pairing, which is great for RSL. It'll be interesting. But, yeah, I was really impressed with David Horst. But like you said, Sean, he's just the consummate professional. He's going to be ready regardless of when you need him or what you need him for. He's just ready to play ball. So
whether he's starting or whether he's coming off the bench, I think consummate professional is the perfect way to describe David Horst.
Well, and it's
certainly shout out to the horse.
Well, and it's kind of reminiscent of a New York native who featured for RSL for many, many years and also played for New York City FC and may or may not
in
be
Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, who may or may not be on a radio broadcast for the opposition, Chris Wingert. That's who David Horst really reminds me of, is a Chris Wingert type of player. Just always ready and willing to do whatever you need him to do.
Yeah, willing to move around a little bit on that back line. He can play in a couple different spots. Certainly some spots are better than others. I mean, that's fair of anybody in this game, really. But he's very mobile, very versatile, very willing to just get the job done, whatever's asked of him. So, certainly.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Sean, so you mentioned the fact that we were going to get to a little bit more about Adam Henley here. We actually had a chance as the media to speak with him at his locker after the Vancouver match, get some of his thoughts on making his debut for RSL. He dealt with some injuries early on in training camp that kind of precluded him from making the roster. Well, not making the roster, but making his debut until now. So we'll step aside here, come back with our feature interview here on Salt City FC with defender Adam Henley.
How'd the debut go?
It was good. It was unexpected, but I was ready for it. Like I said before, it's always hard when you've got to jump in so early into the game. You've missed out on a lot of the warm-ups that the other lads have done, and you've just got to hit the ground running really and adjust yourself and help the team in the ways that you can.
You traditionally played right back mostly?
Yeah, I mean, I'm right-footed, so traditionally I do play right back, but I've played plenty of games at left back. I feel capable playing there, when called upon. So, no excuses for myself on any performance there, really.
There was a stoppage not long after you got in. Did that help you get warmed up a little more and get into the flow?
I was saying to a couple of the boys after the game, I think the way the game played out helped me a little bit. We weren't chasing the game. We were able to sit back a bit more and soak up a bit of the pressure. And I think all across the back four and the whole team defended really well, especially in the second half. And that's what you got to do sometimes, just dig out results, and that's what we've done today.
How long would you say it took for you to really settle in?
I just look at it as, I wanted to come in and make an impact. I have done since, I recovered from my injury early on in the season, and I've been waiting for the opportunity, and I knew as soon as it came, I had to take it. And there's no excuses when you're on the pitch in terms of working your way into the game. You've got to be sharp, and you've just got to be ready, basically.
Kind of go through your mind 10, 12 minutes in like that when Mike points to the bench and says, "Hey, you're up," because that's not normal for your position.
Yeah, I mean it's always tough. It's as players, it's often the hardest thing to cope with, going on so early on in the game. But like I said, you've just got to deal with it. You haven't got time to think about it, and you've just got to go straight on and do the best that you can.
Does it eventually almost feel like a start because you're out there for so long?
Yeah, definitely. I just went into it, knowing what I had to do. Obviously, we all train together. We all shadow each other. We know each other's jobs and what we have to do if we're called upon. And like I said, there's no excuses when you get on the pitch. So you've just got to hit the ground running and do everything that you can.
You got to get some minutes with the Monarchs as you're getting back from your injury. How smooth of a transition is it between those two teams? First team.
It's I've done it before in my career. I've played with the second team. I've come up and played with the first team, and it's a different type of football. It's when you're playing in the first team, you know what's at stake, and some may say that there's a bit more pressure on these games, but it's nothing I've never had to deal with before, and I'm happy to come in and help the team get that win.
They seem to play a lot more compact tonight. Is this one of those games where this team can burn you on the counter? You just got to just stay ready.
I mean, we spoke about it, plenty of times during the week. We knew that was going to be their get out. They were going to try and get us on the counter, and we had to be prepared for that. And getting the goal helped us, sit back a little bit and, like you say, keep compact. And I think, especially with the injury to Marcelo as well and Dave coming on, may have been a bit disrupted, but I think the team dealt with it really well, and defensively it was a great performance by us.
There is Adam Henley, the defender from Real Salt Lake, and Sean, well-spoken, thoughtful interview. I thought he was great in terms of his first interaction, I guess, officially after a match with the media.
Yeah, very great interview, very well-spoken, very willing to answer whatever question was asked of him. I'm excited for this kid. I think he could be really good. I think when he was brought into Real Salt Lake, there was a little bit of where does he fit? He seems like a good player, but where does he fit maybe? Right now, I think he's a very good fit for this club. I think he looks very good at either outside back spot across that right line. He can kind of that back line. He could play kind of at right back or left back a little bit. You asked him about that.
Well, he's proven he can play left back because he was brought in ostensibly to replace Tony Beltran at right back, and he gets called on in the 12th minute when he ultimately got subbed on there, and it looked like he might be coming on in the first minute because that's when DeMar Phillips went down for the first time, got rolled up on with his ankle, and so the fact that he can play left back, that is very good for RSL, considering outside backs right now for RSL are at a premium. Yeah,
very much so. I mean, when you're trying to transition a player like Brooks Lennon into a fullback role, which, don't get me wrong, Brooks is doing a great job, I think, in that spot. But when you're having to move players around like that, it's saying something a little bit about your depth and injury status and where you want to kind of go with that back line. So certainly very needed. It's good to see that Adam Henley's healthy, among other things as well. He missed some significant time last year. So it's good to see that he's healthy, he's fit, he's ready to go, and I think he's going to make an impact going forward for Real Salt Lake, possibly as early as this Wednesday.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens because this is going to be a lineup shuffle for sure for Mike Pecky. Corey Baird getting the start last week. I would think that he's probably on the bench this week. Joel Plata's back in the starting lineup if I were to take a guess on that, because guys, 3 days rest, it's tough to expect guys that went a full 90 3 days prior to go another full 90. But we'll see what happens. It should be interesting.
Certainly difficult. They do have a longer layoff.
Yes.
After this Wednesday, which is nice, so you can kind of empty the tank on guys because they're getting a few extra days to recover as well. Yeah. So that could go into some of the thinking with some of them, but definitely it is very hard to do. In the NBA, they call them back-to-backs. This is pretty much the equivalent of a back-to-back.
It's as close as you get because you're going on the road.
In soccer. So, yeah, I mean, they didn't even get a chance to really train at America First Field. They left for New York City Monday morning.
Yeah.
So
they're on the plane. Yeah. They're there. They're going to train in New York. So we'll see what happens with that. All right, Sean, let's transition to the other pro league in the state of Utah. They have got 2 matches under their belt, but they're
Ogden City SC.
Not Ogden City SC. We'll get to Ogden later.
Sorry. Okay.
That would be the the only, the Utah Royals FC, the NWSL side.
Them.
Yes, them. Of course. Sean's favorite team in the state of Utah. Let's be honest here.
Those who know my Twitter persona know that I don't like anything about the Royals.
No, not at all.
No, not one bit.
Can't stand it. Anyways, they're going to make some history this week. It's going to be their first home match in their franchise history. Of course, they're the remnants of the former Kansas City franchise, but this is the first home match in Utah Royals history. They're going to be hosting it at Rio Tinto Stadium like the rest of their matches. Word on the street is they've sold around 15,000 tickets so far. If they get a crowd
pushing really, really hard for that sellout, and with a decent walk-up, they might get there.
Yeah, if they get 20,000+ people there for that. And, of course, there's Rachel Platten, the Platinum album selling.
The favorite artist of the Hatch household, I just learned.
Yes, I have a certain significant other that wants to go to the match.
And by significant other, he means himself, guys.
Yeah, exactly. Just me. Yes, absolutely. No, but Rachel Platten's performing. That's going to draw some people to this because she's having a post-match concert at Rio Tinto Stadium. But I think there's a lot of people that are interested, Sean, simply in the fact that we have professional women's soccer in this state.
Yeah, I had it told to me by a traditional media member, one who doesn't really care much for soccer, one who doesn't really follow soccer. But this was a couple years ago when I first kind of broached the idea through a series that I was doing in my day job. About Deloy Hansen potentially trying to bring an NWSL team to Utah. This media member I heard from told me, I won't out him right here. I will say it's a male figure. He's an older gentleman, doesn't really follow soccer, doesn't necessarily like soccer. But he told me at this time through my series and whatnot, corresponding with him, that a pro women's team would probably have a bigger drawing than, say, what became the Real Monarchs.
Wow.
And a second division men's team. And that's simply because the state of Utah it's becoming a soccer state, certainly. Mm-hmm. But I think even before RSL got here, it was a women's soccer state. Yeah. I mean, based on collegially what some of our programs have done in BYU and Utah, even Utah State had its time in the sunlight. Mm-hmm. The girls' club programs that come out of this state are absolutely first class. There's more coaching involved at the girls' level. Certainly, Title IX has a lot to do with it. Yes. But this is a state that has been very involved, very passionate, and very interested in the development of women's soccer or girls' soccer / women's soccer. Yeah. For I would dare say a longer amount of time than it has boys' soccer or men's soccer. So
I think that's easy to say.
Yeah, I mean this market is very excited for the NWSL. They're very excited for the Royals. Whereas when RSL first moved here, I think there was a little bit of a fight for legitimacy, even fight for supremacy in some ways. Yeah. I think there's less of that with the Royals, if I'm to be quite frank.
Well, okay, Sean, you and I are both above the age of 30, and we all remember the 99 World Cup, the 99ers. They won the World Cup.
Fighting Brandy Chastain.
Fighting Brandy Chastains, absolutely. And I think that really has resonated with a whole generation of soccer fans.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I'll say it. That's why I became a soccer fan. It was that 1999 Women's World Cup. All right. The 94 World Cup, that was a big deal. The launch of MLS, certainly I noticed it, I guess, but I didn't really get into soccer until that 99 Women's World Cup final, USA-China, the epic penalty shootout. Mm-hmm. Not just the game-winning celebration, but just the whole thing, the tension, the atmosphere. You had a packed Rose Bowl at the time. I mean, that's what really got me into the sport. And I don't think I'm alone in that regard.
No, absolutely not. I'm right there with you.
And it helps living in the country with arguably the best team in the world.
Yeah, okay, yes. And I think that right there, Sean, as the next point I wanted to go to, is the average Joe sports fan in the United States of America. I think they see MLS and any particular MLS team as let's say, a fourth or fifth tier at best league in the world, whereas they've seen the United States women's national team win multiple World Cups, and they continue to be quite possibly the most dominant force in international women's soccer. So in their mind, they're like, well, yeah, women's soccer, they dominate here. So it resonates more, I think, when you see a women's pro league coming to the state of Utah. I think people realize the average Joe fan is like, oh, yeah, well, if they get some good players, yeah, they could be really good.
Yeah, Americans like winners.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Utahns, in particular, like winners. You cover the Utah Jazz a lot in your day job.
Yes.
Look how much more interest there is right now in this market in the Jazz, who are certainly one of the four best teams in the Western Conference versus 3 years ago.
Yes.
When they weren't.
Well, they were a lottery team. Yeah, they weren't in the playoffs.
They very much weren't even close to really a playoff team. I mean, Utahns like winners. Americans like winners. Women's soccer is where we produce winners more often in this sport. That's not saying that men's soccer doesn't have its place. It's not even more popular in a lot of ways, certainly on the club level even, more established, that sort of thing. But there's a lot more of kind of a neutral fan interaction.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no.
The winners.
It resonates. It resonates with people. So, Sean, of course, the Utah Royals, they are 0-2, two draws to start their existence in the state of Utah. Of course, 2 road matches. They went to Orlando and got a draw in their first ever game, branded as the Utah Royals, and they followed that up with a draw in Houston. And I'm not going to lie, Gunny. If anybody listening to this podcast hasn't paid attention, Gunny, John Stote.
Oh, Gunilda Ursa Jonsdotter.
Holy crap! You can do that? Okay, guys, we just realized Sean Walker is fluent in Icelandic. Icelandic, right?
I probably butchered that name, so I'm sorry, Gunny. We'll just refer to Gunny from here on out.
Yeah, but Gunny, she is a star in the making here for the Utah Royals. She has been a revelation. She's been their best player by far, I think, through the first 2 matches. And she was very unlucky to not give the Utah Royals their first win in Houston, I thought, on that free kick, if you were watching that match.
Yeah, definitely. We got to give a shout-out to Houston goalkeeper Jane Campbell,
yes,
called into the women's national team. I think almost based entirely on the way she was able to keep Gunny and the Royals at bay there at home in Houston. Absolutely stood on her head. Very much a deserving 0-0 draw. Yeah. I mean, because Utah was pressing and Gunny was on fire. A couple other players had some nice moments, but yeah, mostly Gunny. And then Jane Campbell was absolutely up to the task in every way, shape, and form in that match. Very exciting 0-0 draw. I know that sounds like an oxymoron to soccer haters, but this was a very exciting 0-0 draw. And the Royals now enter their home opener this Saturday, still unbeaten officially in franchise history, which I think is kind of exciting.
And they face the Chicago Red Stars this week. Sean, let people have an idea. You're more versed in the NWSL and the kind of the various clubs in the NWSL. Where does Chicago kind of stand in terms of the 9-team league that we have with the NWSL right now?
Certainly. It's been a little bit of a slow start for the Red Stars. They've got a lot of talent, but they're 0-1 on the season. Started off the year with a very difficult schedule. They're coming off of a 3-2 loss to the Portland Thorns. But this is a team that a lot of people around the league were very excited to see because of the way they kind of revamped and retooled themselves in the offseason. Obviously, they've got some U.S. women's national team stars, Julie Hertz being a star in Philadelphia Titans.
Yeah, Zach Ertz, Super Bowl winning Philadelphia Eagle.
Some of you may know him. I guess he's a thing.
He's a thing,
I suppose.
Scored the game-winning touchdown.
Yeah, so they do. They've got their stars. They've got their national teamers.
There was a local connection on that team, but I'm not sure if she's still on the roster.
Right. So former Alta High School / BYU midfielder Michelle Vasconcelos, Michelle Murphy.
Yeah.
If you followed her through her high school days and whatnot, Murph was drafted by the Chicago Red Stars last year. She was the first pick in the second round. The Red Stars were very excited about her. I think she could have been one of the better rookies of last year's class, but she deferred her season because shortly after being drafted, she told the Chicago front office that her and her husband Pedro, who played soccer in the PDL for BYU as well, were expecting their first child. So congratulations to Murph and Pedro. Cutest little baby girl that they've got there. But she is now back. She's ready. She actually started a week ago for the Red Stars. And she has come back in very full fitness. Really, she's been a revelation, I think, for the Stars, and I think she's going to have a very good career in the NWSL with the next chapter coming home to Sandy at Rio Tinto Stadium, where, by the way, she was quick to remind me, she's already won a couple championships.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure her Alta team's won some state titles at Rio Tinto, so she'll be looking to continue her winning ways there. Should be a fantastic match, 1:30 p.m. Mountain Time. I believe it's the Lifetime feature game of the week this week.
It is on Lifetime, yep, 1:30
NWSL. But I would encourage you, get out and enjoy the match in person. You don't see historic events like this very often. First match in franchise history at home. Should be a blast there, and I'm really excited for this. It should be fun. I'm glad that the NWSL is here. here. I'm happy that Deloy Hansen has invested heavily in this club. Let's put it that way. And I think that the dividends are going to be coming in short order. Sean, let's talk about the third member of the Real Salt Lake family before we wrap up this segment. And that would be the best team, I guess, right now in terms of record of the three. And that would be the red-hot Real Monarchs.
Yeah, 3-0-0 on the year, coming off of a 1-0 win at Phoenix Rising FC. Ties their best start in franchise history. Sebastian Velasquez with the lone goal, former RSL midfielder.
Yeah,
he's scored in back-to-back matches now.
That kid is pushing to get called up to the first team at some point.
He's trying really hard. I wouldn't be shocked to see him in an RSL uniform sooner rather than later. Right now, it's a matter of if, or it's a matter of when and not if.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to happen. It's just he's at a very difficult position right now. Obviously, he kind of plays a very similar position, very similar style to a guy named Albert Rusnak, who you might have heard of.
So if Albert goes on national team duty, that's when you might see the chance.
Maybe look at it there. He may be able to fill in as kind of a box-to-box guy, like Damir Krylov or something of the like. But I would expect to see him in that type of a role.
Okay.
I think box-to-box, a little bit more attacking, creative midfielder for Real Salt Lake. But like I said, I think he's going to get called up here and there sooner rather than later.
Well, Mark Briggs' side is...
Friend of the podcast, Mark Briggs.
He is a friend of the podcast. We'll have to get him on again soon, actually. We're going to be doing interviews each week. Hopefully get some people like Mark Briggs back here on the podcast. Should be a lot of fun that way. But Mark Briggs' side, man, they're playing with so much confidence coming off winning the Shield last year. Is it the Supporters Shield in the USL as well? I don't remember what they call their...
USL Shield.
USL Shield, which is the best regular season record. They're playing with a lot of confidence. They came into the season with that confidence. I think they have a bitter taste in their mouth on how the season ended in the playoffs last year with an early exit in their minds. So they're playing really, really well right now. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do. They don't actually have their official home opener when they christen Zions Bank Stadium out there at the Zions Bank Real Academy until April 30th. They'll be on the road for a few more weeks, but I'm not going to put it past them to be potentially unbeaten come that home opener against Las Vegas Lights FC.
Yeah, so they hit the road the same day as RSL this week, Wednesday, 8 o'clock. They're at Seattle Sounders FC2.
Okay.
Very tough place to play, but the Sounders 2 team, if I'm being quite frank, not quite the Sounders 2 team of years past, so that's certainly winnable right there. Then they go to the other side of the country, play at Tampa Bay. I think that might be their toughest road win of this kind of early season slate.
Well, if you would beat the Rowdies,
Yeah, Tampa Bay, very good team, very quality side. But then they come home a week later and they get that Zions Bank Stadium opener in what I like to call the I-15 Derby, what my co-host Jake likes to call the Saints and Sinners matchup because he brings religion into everything. So they'll open Zions Bank Stadium April 30th, 7 p.m. against Las Vegas Lights FC, led by Freddie Adu.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you remember that name, Freddie Adu? Anybody?
Yeah,
the 14-year-old wonder kid. What are we on? Like
former RSL winger.
We're on club.
Freddie Adu.
What we 15 clubs now that he's played for, something like that.
Somewhere.
But it should be fun. It'll be a lot of fun. But best of luck to Mark Briggs' crew. It is a road heavy schedule to start as they kind of get the finishing touches put on Zions Bank Stadium. But I am really looking forward to seeing what they can do because they're off to a flying start right now, and it should be a lot of fun. All right, Sean, let's take a short time out here. We'll come back, talk about some MLS soccer, got some international news we want to talk about as well, and of course we always wrap up the podcast with added time where we find some news in the soccer world. It doesn't even necessarily have to be soccer, it's just news that we see during the week that we want to pass on to our listeners, so we'll get to that as well. That's all coming up right here on Salt City FC. All right, Sean, in MLS news, let's start off with some of the news from the weekend domestically. And the question I put on our little Google Doc here is, will the Real LA please stand up? Because Real Salt Lake fans saw LAFC come into Rio Tinto Stadium, carve the Claret and Cobalt up 5-1, and just look like world beaters. LAFC follows that up with an all-time classic first ever derby match against their new rivals in the Los Angeles Galaxy, El Trafico, which is a great name for a rivalry there.
Official podcast statement: we are in favor of El Trafico.
Absolutely. And then they get Zlatan'd to the nth degree in that game when Zlatan Ibrahimovic
led this match 2-0. They led this match 2-0.
And then they get beat. But then, okay, you see the Galaxy, you say, okay, well, that's a big win for them, getting their rivals, saying, hey, we're still the big brother here in Southern California. But then, this past weekend, Los Angeles Galaxy go out and kind of reverted back to form, I guess.
New old money meets old new money.
Yeah.
And 5-0 win for Atlanta United FC against LA.
Yeah.
And I just got to say, woof.
Yeah,
Wolf.
Not pretty. And let's put it this way, LAFC's also having their own issues as well. Like I said, that loss to the Los Angeles Galaxy. So I'm interested to see which of these clubs kind of steadies themselves, kind of rights the ship, and can make a run. It's still very early in the season. I'm still going to tip the scale towards LAFC. I believe that they're better equipped for success this season, but I've seen Siggy Schmid do things with clubs that have less talent than what he's got with the Los Angeles Galaxy right now. So it'll be interesting to see which of those two clubs, if any, does anything.
Certainly. I mean, two great bosses in charge of both of those clubs. I think Bob Bradley's going to find a way to right the ship with LAFC as well. This 5-0 loss rout, really, by Atlanta, I think is going to prove to be the outlier on their season. They've still got a lot of talent. They still got a lot of momentum. They've still got, obviously, a ways to go. But this was just a moment where everything was clicking. Josef Martinez gets a nice early goal. Miguel Almiron scores 2 PKs. At least one of them was deserved.
Yeah.
Certainly. At least one of them.
One's still questionable. But what is
But I'm the token Atlanta United fan on this podcast.
What is MLS without a controversial PK call?
Certainly.
Especially when we have video assisted review and we decided not to use it.
Certainly.
Always fun that way.
Or use it to reverse a straight red card.
That too. Also, yes. That also makes for a fun time.
I like LAFC to right the ship. I don't think they're going to be down for long. They've got too much talent. Bob Bradley's too good of a coach to be down for long. But the Galaxy now, they've got the ultimate wild card in Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
Yeah, Zlatan can win a match for you with one or two strikes, and he can lose a match, honestly. And it's just, you never know what you're going to get. He's, 36 now? We'll see if he makes the World Cup squad for Sweden. He's waited his entire career to potentially play on the world's biggest stage. And coming off major reconstructive knee surgery, there's a lot of question marks if he's going to make Sweden's World Cup squad. It'll be interesting. I think he wants to use this LA Galaxy tenure to get himself match fit and prove to the Swedish national team that, hey, I'm willing to come play, and I don't necessarily think he's going to tell Sweden, no, I'm starting or else. I think he'd be okay making the squad and being a substitute for Sweden, but they could use him, and I think playing for the Galaxy and featuring more prominently for them is going to help him do that.
Yeah, I mean, his first MLS goal alone should get him called in, I think, to Swedish camps. If you can do what he did from 40 yards out, plus he is Zlatan.
Yeah,
I mean,
when you refer to yourself in the third person, yeah, you got
to be at least as good as Jake Hatch.
Yeah, right. There we go. Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, Sean. So yeah, there's some of the MLS stuff we wanted to know, but let's turn our attention here to the CONCACAF Champions League. It has been a revelation this season. MLS sides have done very, very well, and we have the potential here, Sean, with the second leg of the semifinal matchups coming tomorrow night, Tuesday night. We could see two MLS sides competing for the top crown in the CONCACAF club division, and that would be a first because an MLS club has never won this. Of course, Real Salt Lake's probably come the closest of anybody, but we could see Toronto and New York doing battle for this if they're able to overcome, in New York's case, if they're able to overcome a deficit and if Toronto's able to hold on against Club America. Of course, New York is facing Chivas Guadalajara, so it should be interesting to see what happens with both these matches tomorrow night.
Yeah, and Toronto FC having to go into Estadio Azteca tonight. But I think they're set up about as well as any MLS team can be going into the Azteca with that 3-1 advantage.
Yeah.
You give up that late road goal to America, but in reality, they should be favored to advance to the final. I think they probably are favored to advance to the final. I could look it up in the Vegas line if you want. But,
They should be favored.
Certainly, I think they should be favored. I think they are favored. I would call it at least a minor upset, if nothing else, if America managed to overturn that deficit. Certainly, weirder things have happened. They do have home soil in their advantage. But I think if nothing else, at least Toronto should be representing Major League Soccer in the CONCACAF Champions League final, and they stand as good a chance as anybody of being the first MLS team to win the whole thing. Exactly,
and so we'll see what happens. I'm really interested to see this. I'm hoping that Miguel Herrera has like a sideline outburst of some sort. He's the manager for Club America, and he is just an entertaining figure all on his own.
Yeah, if you don't like either of these teams, watch this match on Univision or Go90.com. Watch this match just for El Piojo.
Yes, El Piojo. Yes, no, it should be a lot of fun. And New York Red Bulls, they've got a 1-0 aggregate. They're trailing 1-0 on aggregate, entering the second leg. The good news here is that it's not that big of a deficit for New York to overcome, unlike it is for Club America, where you got to make up 2 goals. So, it'd be really cool to see 2 MLS teams advance to the final and just shut out the Mexican teams and finally say, hey, guess what? We can compete with y'all. I think that would be a really big step for MLS.
Yeah, a little bit of a tougher task for the Red Bulls. I'm not quite as confident in them. Although I will say, Chivas de Guadalajara probably not playing as well as Club America when they got into this competition. So in some ways, it's probably an easier opponent, and then it's also Chivas. So, yeah. I mean, they can turn it on at a moment's notice. Really, they've won 5 of their last 6. They're really starting to find their forms. Like I said, they came into the contest, they came into the tournament, not playing their best football, but I think they're starting to get there. So, if the Red Bulls can overturn that deficit, it would obviously be massive. They're at Red Bull Arena, so that helps some. But I'm not quite as confident in Bradley Wright Phillips' side.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. This should be interesting. All right, Sean.
Feel free to call me out next week if I'm totally wrong.
When you're wrong, we have both.
Yeah. Hit us up on Twitter. You can send all your hate mail for me to @JacobCHatch.
Oh, great! Yeah, there we go.
And
that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
No, it should be a lot of fun.
Or you can find me on Twitter @PK Kinahan.
Oh, @PK Kinahan. My day job, I work with one Patrick Kinahan, and if he starts seeing soccer tweets show up on his Twitter timeline, Sean, you just made my day job that much harder. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with that. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Sean, real quick before we take our second, well, I guess our penultimate timeout is I want to talk a little bit about the Premier League across the pond. Manchester City has had a season for the ages, and with the Premier League, we've seen a lot of dominant sides, but Manchester City had a chance to lock up the Premier League crown in early April last week when they went for the Manchester Derby against Manchester United. They ran out to a 2-0 lead. It looked like the crown was theirs. They were going to be celebrating on the field after this match at the expense of their arch rivals. And then the Red Devils came alive.
In the spirit of Fergie.
In the spirit of Fergie, I like it.
In the spirit of Fergie.
Yeah, it just incredible.
This was not quite done. 2 top teams in the Premier League. I mean, did you really expect, with a title on the line, a local derby, the 2 top teams in the league table, I mean, did you really expect for a title to be wrapped up in April?
The way Manchester City is playing?
But narrative, Jake.
Narrative. I get it. I get narrative.
The Premiership is all about narrative. It's not about football.
It really is.
It's all about narrative.
But still, Manchester City had been flying, and they flew out to that 2-0 start. And I'm like, well, that's all she wrote, kids. And, yeah, the fat lady hadn't sung yet. So, Manchester United, Jose Mourinho's side really proved something there. And of course, Manchester City can still lock up the crown this week with another win. So it's a matter of when, not if. Nobody's going to take the crown away from Manchester City. They've had that dominant of a season. But to see your rival storm back with 3 goals in the second half and take away your chance to celebrate at their expense, that's something that I think Manchester United can celebrate and have some fun with going forward.
Yeah, I think it's probably certainly a matter of when and not if. I just don't know quite when that when will be.
Yeah.
Necessarily. They've got a tough road going forward. They got Champions League play against Liverpool coming up this week. And then they're at your beloved Tottenham Hotspur, I believe.
Yes, they are.
On the right, I think that's at Tottenham.
It's at Tottenham.
It's
will be at Wembley, which is where.
Yeah. So I mean, it might be a little bit. It might be a hot Manchester minute, if you will.
Yeah.
Before City wraps up this title, but I agree. I think it is a matter of when and not if at this point.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens, how it all plays out. But Manchester City, man, Pep Guardiola doing it again. He's one of the best managers in the world for a reason, and he's proven it with one of the top clubs in the world once again.
That's future U.S. manager, Pep Guardiola.
Okay, now I would be ecstatic if the U.S. could pull that. I don't believe for a second they're going to pull that off, but we'll see what happens with that. All right, Sean, we'll take a time out here. We'll come back with some final thoughts and added time where we get to some of the news and notes that doesn't really fit in any of the other segments of the show. And that's all coming up right here on Salt City FC. Welcome back to Salt City FC. Final segment here on the podcast. We're back in action. It's been fun.
We're about to say goodbye.
Exactly, but we'll be back. We're going to be doing this regularly.
Maybe.
In my basement, of all places.
Probably.
It should be
I gotta say, though, this is a nice place. I mean, I really, really like the white tiger that you have on the couch. The goldfish tank.
The white tiger.
The goldfish tank is a nice touch.
Yeah, the waterbed over the corner.
I don't know how your wife let you put the waterbed there in that corner, but props to you for that.
Oh, my wife's gonna hear this podcast, and you're never coming back. You know this, right?
It looks good. It really does. I mean, it looks good.
In all reality, everybody pulling back the curtain a little bit. I have an unfinished basement that we're sitting in recording this podcast. So there you go. We are podcasting legends.
This is an audio medium.
I know, but this is what podcasts are made for. Is an unfinished basement recording. So it should be a lot of fun. All right, Sean, let's wrap things up with some added time here. I'm going to let you go first with your story, and we'll get to mine right after that. So go ahead.
Oh, you want me to go first?
Yes, fire away.
All right, well, it's a good thing I'm going first because Jacob Eudes Hatch.
Eudes, yes, there we go.
The first MLS Cup champion of the season has been crowned.
How
and
so?
And of course, by that, I'd like to say congratulations to the Houston Dynamo. Congratulations to Guillermo Trevino, a.k.a. Kid Memito, your 2018 EMLS Cup champion presented by PlayStation. Yes, EMLS Cup. He was the FIFA 18 champion in EMLS Cup's inaugural season. The final was played out of PAX East.
Okay.
He beat Lyles MTL, aka Lyles Old Ramol of Montreal, 6-4 in their two-legged final. And Houston Dynamo will forever hold the inaugural EMLS Cup title.
Okay, here's the thing. So in my day job, I deal with the Utah Jazz a lot. And, of course, last week a lot of hubbub came up about the NBA 2K League that they have just launched. The NBA's put a lot of money into this.
Shout out to our friend Spartacus. We should get him on pod.
We should have. That actually be really good.
I bet Spartacus would do this.
We should do that. No, but I didn't know that MLS was already in on the esports bandwagon as well. So that's actually really cool. Congrats. So the Houston Dynamo.
Yeah.
The debut champions.
So congratulations to Houston. 19 MLS clubs have sponsored sides so far. Real Salt Lake is not one of them.
Hey, Deloitte, come on, buddy.
Yeah, I know. We should talk. Also, this might be my 2 weeks' notice if they do decide to sponsor.
You're out.
And EMS.
Hey, I tried to get you to go do the NBA 2K deal, and you wouldn't go for it. You said that you were too rusty, as you wanted to say.
Yeah. Well, my problem with 2K. Here, I'm gonna divert the podcast for a second here. My problem with 2K, Jake, is this is an Xbox league. I only play 2K on the Switch.
Okay.
So I gotta find somebody who's willing to play it on the Switch. If you're looking for somebody, add Atomic Ant GG. That's my gamer tag. Go ahead, hit me up. We'll play some 2K on the Nintendo Switch. Atomic Ant GG.
The last time I played 2K was well over 2 years ago. And I got curb stomped by my 12-year-old brother.
Well, it's time for you to get back into the game.
I do need to get back into the game. After seeing some of the money that they're giving out for this stuff with the 2K League, I need to get back in. So, but that's actually really cool. So congrats to the Houston Dynamo.
Yeah, congrats to Kid Mamito, Guillermo Trevino.
Yeah.
Kid Mamito spelled in Leet, by the way.
Oh, of course it is.
M3M.
Yeah.
LITO. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so my final thought here, my final story, Sean, is a interesting setup with FIFA. Of course, FIFA has had their moments in the sun and their moments in the darkness with some of the shady backroom deals that have been struck that may have resulted in a World Cup going to Russia and one going to Qatar, of all places.
Are you implying that FIFA is a highly unethical and at best questionable organization?
No, I have the NSA data center literally right up the street, so I've got to be careful with what I say, or else I'm going to have some G-men, as they like to call themselves, show up on my doorstep and want to chat, because, there's allegations of some meddling going on in certain elections and whatnot, and we don't need any of that. But FIFA, according to Gianni Infantino, the FIFA president, is there is a consortium. I hope I'm pronouncing it. Consortium or consortium? You're the wordsmith here.
One.
Okay.
Consortium is more common.
Okay, there's a consortium of investors from the Middle East and Asia. But they don't know who they are. They want to pay about $25 billion with a B. $billion to buy an expanded version of FIFA's Club World Cup, as well as the rights to a proposed global league for national teams. So almost an anti-World Cup in a way. But the thing is, according to people with direct knowledge of the meeting held in Bogota, Colombia last month, details of the offer were scant. Infantino, there in the written report of this potential consortium's offer, the dollar figures were not put on paper. It was verbally reported by Infantino, the $25 billion mark, and this would create another tournament for national teams, which has got UEFA up in arms over the UEFA World Cup, not the UEFA World Cup, the UEFA Champions League, and some of the other stuff that UEFA has been benefiting from financially. And this just screams to me that the more things change with FIFA, Sean, the more things stay the same.
Yeah, I mean, FIFA is corrupt. FIFA is ridden by scandal. I don't know if clearing a couple of names off of one side of the boardroom is necessarily going to create immediate change for that. But I mean, frankly, I'm not totally against this idea.
I'm not against the idea.
I mean, this is
yeah.
Here's the thing: is people are going to look at this and they're just going to see, oh, here's another chance of bribes. This is also a private, very private, even so private that we don't know who's behind necessarily. Yeah. But this is a private interest, a private business group or consortium of groups that are willing to pay a whole bunch of money to expand the FIFA Club World Cup, which is not something that people pay a ton of attention to anymore. So if there are private equity firms, private business leaders, and the like that are willing to put a bunch of money into it, I think there's a chance this could be a good thing for the game.
Okay, and the interesting part here, you want to know why FIFA is okay with this, and especially Infantino, because he wants to get reelected first off, and he's pledged reform, and he's also pledged to up the haul that FIFA makes each year. According to the story in the New York Times, UEFA takes in $15.5 billion every 4 years from the Champions League alone. You know what FIFA makes with the World Cup that they have to survive on essentially every 4 years? A paltry $5.5 billion with a B. So
how do they make it?
So when you
How do they make it?
So, but all of a sudden, when you toss $25 billion under the nose of FIFA and say, "How's that smell, buddy?" Yeah, they're all in. I'm with you, Sean. I think that it could be a good thing. The Club World Cup, get it a little bit higher up in terms of the interest level, and having another national team tournament where you can let some clubs have more national team time and let fans of their national team enjoy their club playing in a competition that means something. I'm okay with that. I think it'd be fun.
Right, and the proposed League of Nations, I think, is the big sticking point for a lot of teams because it's already a very compact international footballing calendar.
Yes.
And when you add in club commitments on top of national team stars, it can be a little bit hectic, a little bit helter-skelter, as they say. So I certainly see the issues. I don't want to make it sound like I'm completely on board. But I also think this could, in the end, be a good evolution of the game. Kind of turn it over to some private business firms and private equity. Try to pump up something that realistically right now is just, it's not much of a thing. I mean, when was the last time, Jake, and I know how much you love the CONCACAF Champions League. I know how much you love the UEFA Champions League.
Yep.
When was the last time after those finals that you paid attention to the Club World Cup?
Never.
Yeah, I don't think you're alone in that. I really don't. There's a reason why Asian teams and even sometimes African teams fare very well in the Club World Cup.
Because
I think it's not seen as the highest level.
Yeah, and these clubs that go to it, like we're talking like the UEFA clubs, the team clubs from Europe that go there, normally they take like a B and even C side to it and compete that way. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. It should be interesting.
When Real Madrid was in the Club World Cup a couple of years ago, I remember them sending it was a while ago, but I remember them sending legitimate kids from the Castillo, from their academy.
Yeah, so there you go.
To the Club World Cup. So.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. But $25 billion consortium gets a lot of people up in arms just because it sounds shady, and FIFA, like you said, has just been scandal ridden. But it'll be interesting. We'll see what happens with that. We'll report back if we hear anything else.
If nothing else, this is good leverage.
Yeah.
And as our friends at Gonzaga University taught us recently with a potential conference move, I'm going to go college basketball on you guys, sorry.
No, it's true.
But leverage is never a bad thing.
No, yeah. Use it to your advantage when you have it.
If FIFA's Club World Cup is really worth $25 billion, let the facts bear out on that.
Yeah, exactly.
And if it's not, I mean, what are we really losing?
Not much. Yeah, so, all right, Sean, well, that does it for this week. We're back in action. It was a fun first, I guess, re-debut of the podcast. Any final thoughts from you?
No, just once again, congrats to Kid Memito. Yep. Congrats to Real Salt Lake on their 2-1 win over Vancouver. Utah Royals FC this Saturday, 1:30 p.m. You know me, Jake. I'm really excited for this opener. Really excited to finally have an NWSL team here in my home state. We'll catch you guys on the flip side.
Yeah, get out to the Riot and enjoy that match. It should be a lot of fun. The weather's supposed to clear up. I know there's supposed to be some rain, potentially snow coming in this weekend. Based on what I saw as of recording, the weather's supposed to clear out by then, and it should be actually a relatively nice day for soccer, especially with it being a day match. So should be a lot of fun. Catch us on Twitter at Salt City FC. Sean, where can they find you on your personal Twitter feed as well?
Yeah, or on Facebook, Salt City Football Club on Facebook.
Yep.
We're building out with that, and moving forward, patreon.com/SaltCityFC. Mm-hmm. If you want to be the first and get all the insider goings on this
AKA
podcast.
Sean will give you awesome video game tips, and I'll offer to give you, I don't know.
We'll be live streaming the EMLS Cup on our Patreon.
Live streaming it. There we go. Sure. Should be a lot of fun. All right, so give us a follow. Let us know what you have, any questions you have as well. We love to answer them on the podcast as well. We'll be back next week, hopefully talking about 3 wins for the clubs here in the state of Utah, and we'll see what happens. But thanks for tuning in. This has been Salt City FC.
Peace. 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 Peace.